I'm Mitt Romney, and yes, Wolf, that's also my first name. And I'm a husband, a father, a grandfather of 16. I love this country very much. I spent my life in the private sector. And as I've watched the direction this president has taken our country, both domestically and internationally, I'm afraid that he's taking us on a perilous course. I want to keep America strong and free. And if I'm president, I'll use every ounce of my energy to do just that.
TSA pat-downs, violation of civil liberty, or a necessity to ensure national security, Governor Romney?
Well, we can do a lot better than the TSA system. It's going to get better over time. We can use better technology. We can also identify people who are lower risk and allow them to go through the process more quickly than the current process. But let's come back to the issue that seems to be so confusing here. And that is, Congressman Paul talked about crime. Newt Gingrich was right. There are different categories here. There is crime, and there are rights that are afforded to American citizens under our Constitution and those that are accused of crime. Then there is war, and the tool of war being used today in America and around the world is terror. There's a different body of law that relates to war. And for those that understand the difference between the two, they recognize that we need tools when war is waged domestically to assure that as President of the United States, you can fulfill your first responsibility, which is to protect the life, liberty, and property of American citizens and defend them from foes domestic and foreign. And that means, yes, we'll use the Constitution and criminal law for those people who commit crimes, but those who commit war and attack the United States and pursue treason of various kinds, we will use instead a very different form of law, which is the law afforded to those who are fighting America.
Israel Ortega with the Heritage Foundation. Is the money that we drawn back from U.S. troops in Afghanistan really worth the risk of allowing Taliban to expand territories and Al-Qaeda to grow safe sanctuaries?
Governor Romney, $2 billion a week the United States is spending right now in Afghanistan. $2 billion, more than $100 billion a year, and U.S. troops are supposed to stay for another 3 years at least, till the end of 2014. Is that money well spent?
We spent about $450 billion so far. 1,700 or so servicemen and women have lost their lives there, and many tens of thousands have been wounded. Our effort there is to keep Afghanistan from becoming a launching point for terror against the United States. We can't just write off a major part of the world. Pakistan is the 6th largest country in the world. We can't just say goodbye to all of what's going on in that part of the world. Instead, we want to draw them towards modernity. And for that to happen, we don't want to literally pull up stakes and run out of town after the extraordinary investment that we made. And that means we should have a gradual transition of handing off to the Afghan security forces the responsibility for their own country. And for the region, what happened in Indonesia back in the 1960s, where we helped Indonesia move towards modernity with new leadership. We brought them in the technology that allowed them to trade in the world. We need to bring Pakistan into the 21st century, or the 20th century for that matter, so that they can engage throughout the world with trade and with modernity. Right now, American approval level in Pakistan is 12%. We're not doing a very good job with this huge investment we make of $4.5 billion a year. We can do a lot better directing that to encourage people to take advantage of the extraordinary opportunities the West and freedom represent for their people.
Governor Romney, respond.
Let me respond. Are you suggesting, Governor, that we just take all our troops out next week? Or what's your proposal?
Did you hear what I just said? I said we should draw down from 100,000. We don't need 100,000 troops. We don't need 100,000 troops in it. Many of them can't even cross the wire. We need a presence on the ground that is more akin to 10 or 15,000. That will serve our interests in terms of intelligence gathering and special forces response capability. And we need to prepare for a world, not just in South Asia, but indeed in every corner of the world, in which counterterrorism is going to be in front of us for as far as the eye can see into the 21st century.
And the commanders on the ground feel that we should bring down our surge troops by December of 2012 and bring down all of our troops, other than perhaps 10,000 or so, by the end of 2014. The decision to pull our troops out before that, they believe, would put at risk the extraordinary investment of treasure and blood which has been sacrificed by the American military. I stand with the commanders in this regard and have no information that suggests that pulling our troops out faster than that would do anything but put at great peril the extraordinary sacrifice that's been made. This is not time for America to cut and run. We have been in for 10 years. We are winding down. The Afghan troops are picking up the capacity to secure their country, and the mission is pretty straightforward. And that is to allow the Afghan people to have a sovereign nation not taken over by the Taliban. Look, I've got a good... He gets a response, I get a response. Of course the commander-in-chief makes the final decision.
How about the rest?
Of course
How about us who haven't had a response?
Of course the commander-in-chief makes the final decision, but the commander-in-chief makes that decision based upon the input of people closest to the ground. And we've both been to Afghanistan. I've been to Afghanistan. The people I speak with there say we have a very good prospect of the people in Afghanistan being able to secure the peace and their sovereignty from the Taliban. But that if we pull out on a precipitous basis, as Governor Huntsman suggests, that we could well see that nation and Pakistan get pulled into terror and become another launching point to go after America. That's a mistake. That's why you listen and then make your decision.
Speaker.
Congressman Paul, what they're doing is cutting $1 trillion out of the defense budget. They're cutting $1 trillion out of the defense budget, which just happens to equal the $1 trillion they're putting into Obamacare. And so what you have is a president that has a priority of spending us into bankruptcy, but he's not just spending us into bankruptcy, he's spending the money foolishly. We need to protect America and protect our troops and our military and stop the idea of Obamacare. That's the best way to save money, not the military. Okay. Let's just talk about what they're cutting with the first $350 billion, not the next $600, which is coming down the road. The first $350 billion, what did they cut? They stopped the F-22. They delayed aircraft carriers. They stopped the Navy cruiser system. They said long-range Air Force bombers aren't going to be built. They're trying to cut our troops by 50,000. The list goes on. They're cutting programs, cutting the capacity of America to defend itself. Look, let's stand back for a moment, because we've been talking about Israel and Iran. What we're talking about here is a failure on the part of the president to lead with strength. And that's why we have discussions about whether Israel should have to step in to stop the nuclear program, whether Iran is going to become nuclear. We have a president who pursued an agenda of saying we're going to be friendly to our foes and we're going to be disrespectful to our friends. The right course in America is to stand up to Iran with crippling sanctions, indict Ahmadinejad for violating the Geneva or the Genocide Convention, put in place the kind of crippling sanctions that stop their economy. I know it's going to make gasoline more expensive. There's no price which is worth an Iranian nuclear weapon. And the right course for Israel is to show that we care about Israel, that they are our friend, we'll stick with them. If I'm president of the United States, my first foreign trip will be to Israel to show the world we care about that country and that region.
Let's broaden it out. Governor Romney, where do you stand? Are you with the Speaker that some of those illegal immigrants, he didn't say all, some of them, if they have roots, they belong to a church, for example, should be allowed to stay in this country?
Look, amnesty is a magnet. When we have had in the past programs that have said that if people who've come here illegally are going to get to stay illegally for the rest of their life, that's going to only encourage more people to come here illegally. The right course for our immigration system is to say we welcome people who want to come here legally. We're going to have a system that makes that easier and more transparent, but to make sure we're able to bring in the best and brightest. And by the way, I agree with the Speaker in terms of I'd staple a green card to the diploma of anybody who's got a degree of math, science, a master's degree, PhD. We want those brains in our country. But in order to bring people in legally, we've got to stop illegal immigration. That means turning off the magnets of amnesty, in-state tuition for illegal aliens, employers that knowingly hire people that have come here illegally. We welcome legal immigration. This is a party. This is a party that loves legal immigration. But we have to stop illegal immigration for all the reasons the questioner raised, which is it is bringing in people who in some cases can be terrorists. In other cases, they become burden on our society. And we have to finally have immigration laws that protect our border, secure the border, turn off the magnets, and make sure that we have people that come to this country legally to build our economy.
Just to be precise, and I'll give Speaker Gingrich a chance to respond, are you saying that what he's proposing, giving amnesty in effect, or allowing some of these illegal immigrants to stay, is a magnet that would entice others to come to this country illegally?
There's no question. But the saying that we're going to say to the people who've come here illegally that now you're all going to get to stay, or some large number are going to get to stay and become permanent residents of the United States, that will only encourage more people to do the same thing. People respond to incentives. And if you can become a permanent resident of the United States by coming here illegally, you'll do so. What I want to do is bring people into this country legally, particularly those that have education and skill that allows us to compete globally. Yeah, I don't disagree with what Governor Perry indicated. Certainly we have to secure the border, and we talk about people who've been here 25 years. That is the extreme exception.
You would let them stay?
Not the rule.
You would let them stay?
I'm not going to start drawing lines here about who gets to stay and who gets to go. The principle is that we're not going to have an amnesty system that says that people who come here illegally get to stay for the rest of their life in this country legally. The answer is we're going to have a system that gives people who come legally a card that identifies them as coming here legally. Employers are going to be expected to inspect that card, see if they're here legally. On that basis, we're going to be able to bring into this country the number of people that we need to power our industries, whether that's agriculture or high tech. We welcome people in here with visa programs. We have a whole series of legal programs. But the idea of focusing a Republican debate on amnesty and who we're going to give it to is a huge mistake. Secure our border, protect legal immigration, and return to a system that follows the law.
Governor Romney, where do you stand?
Well, that is a foreign policy. It's different than President Obama's, but similar in some respects. President Obama's foreign policy is one of saying, first of all, America is just another nation with a flag. I believe America is an exceptional and unique nation. President Obama feels that we're going to be a nation which has multipolar, balancing militaries. I believe that American military superiority is the right course. President Obama says that we have people throughout the world with common interests. I actually don't agree with him. I think there are people in the world that want to oppress other people, that are evil. President Obama seems to think that we're going to have a global century, an Asian century. I believe we have to have an American century, where America leads the free world and the free world leads the entire world. President Obama apologizes for America. It is time for us to be strong as a nation. And if we are strong with a military and economy that are so strong, no one in the world will try and attempt to threaten us or to attack our friends.
Just to be precise, are you with Governor Perry on declaring a no-fly zone over Syria?
No, this is not the time for a no-fly zone over Syria. This is the time for us to use not only sanctions but covert actions within Syria to get regime change there. There are people in the military that are shifting over, that are becoming part of the rebel effort. We should support those efforts. We need to meet with the Alawites to make sure they understand that they have a future after Assad, that they don't have to link with him. He's getting pressured now from both Turkey as well as Saudi Arabia. They're coming and putting pressure on him. The Arab League is putting pressure on him. That's the right way to go. And by the way, they have 5,000 tanks in Syria. A no-fly zone wouldn't be the right military action. Maybe a no-drive zone. I mean, this is a nation which is not bombing its people at this point, and the right course is not military.
We're ready to wrap it up.
During the 2000 presidential debates, Governor George W. Bush was never asked about the threat from al-Qaeda, yet the battle with al-Qaeda dominated his presidency. What national security issue do you worry about that nobody is asking about either here or in any of the debates so far?
Governor Romney.
Rick is, in my view, is right with regards to long-term security interest, and that's China, although that's very much on our agenda. Immediately, the most significant threat is, of course, Iran becoming nuclear. But I happen to think Senator Santorum is right with regards to the issue that doesn't get enough attention. That's the one that may come up that we haven't thought about, which is Latin America. Because, in fact, Congressman, we have been attacked. We were attacked on 9/11. There have been dozens of attacks that have been thwarted by our security forces. And we have right now Hezbollah, which is working throughout Latin America, in Venezuela, in Mexico, throughout Latin America, which poses a very significant and imminent threat to the United States of America.